Hey, it's Tommy Coletti of the Music Zoo. For the last 30 years, we've been bringing guitars online and in-store to people everywhere. Today, I had the pleasure of talking with my friend Tim Henson about all things guitar, Polyphia, playing Metlife Stadium, and a bunch of other really great things. Come join us. Hey, Tim.
Hey, man.
What's going on? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you here. We're doing a clinic tonight with you.
Yes, we are.
I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of emails of people that didn't make the cut, did what we can, but...
Well, I'm excited to play and talk nonetheless. So,
yeah.
Maybe as we're leaving the building, I'll get to wave to people who are standing outside the window.
You just got off 2 major dates at Metlife Stadium with System of a Down and Korn. 82,000 people?
I think when they do the concert inside of the stadium, the stage cuts off like the back part of the stadium. So like the cap then becomes like 50,000.
Okay.
But 50,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that one of the bigger gigs that you've played?
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
Playing a gig like that in a stadium that large, what changes? What are things that you expected and anticipated maybe going into it, and maybe some of the things that were like, holy crap, I totally didn't expect that?
I guess at this level in our career right now, whenever we play gigs like that, it's always going to be daytime. So eventually we'll get to, have the lights and everything at nighttime.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. I've been watching this documentary all week, like every night that we get to the hotel and like every time I'm eating. And it's America's Team, the Cowboys, because I'm from Dallas. And one of the things that like really, really stuck with me was when Troy Aikman, the quarterback from like the 92, 93 season of like when they went to the Super Bowl and everything. And that's of course the last time they went. It was like 95, I guess, or won. But one of the things that really stuck with me was he said that like on the day that they went into the Rose Bowl to, play the Super Bowl, and he said he walked into the stadium and just felt like this overwhelming sense of peace, like as if he belonged there and it was his home. Okay. Yeah. And I saw that the morning of the first day. And perfect. So I walked into that stadium and just felt like that sense of peace. And I told the boys that, and we all walked around our home. Well, I was like, let's go check out our house, boys.
Yeah.
Because it was that was the first stadium we've played. We've played to, festivals of like 80,000 plus and everything. But to be in like an enclosed thing of that magnitude was new for us. So it was very much like rather than having like all these expectations of like what this should be, let's just be comfortable with what it is, which is our home.
Well deserved, too, right?
Well, also too, it's just like the more we get used to that feeling of comfort inside of a place that large, like the more like that becomes like our new normal,
10 years ago, around this time, so 2015, maybe summer of 2015, what were you doing, and can you picture yourself? Did you visualize yourself being at this spot?
10 years ago, we were doing some of the most rough touring of our lives. We had like just started touring that year right before like the end of 2014. And so 2015, like we were on tour. I think it was like our 4th tour, and we were on tour with August Burns Red. And funny enough, our photographer Ray, who's here with us today, who I haven't seen since that tour. So that's like literally a 10-year thing. It was rough. We were talking the other day about how like the general attitude around that time was just like, how are we supposed to do this when it is so difficult to live, And like we were, we had spent $1,500 on a van, on a vehicle to like tour the country in. And it had broken down so many times that like our spirits were broken, and we had just got into it. You know what I mean? And one of the things that he said that I said 10 years ago was like, man, I don't know if I can do this touring shit. Like, I feel like we should just like be putting out like music videos and stuff on YouTube. And luckily we stuck through it. It was like 5 years of like really, really, just, I guess like the trial of like being on the road and like getting your your road trophies.
Dues.
Yeah, paying your dues.
You're
Yeah,
paying
that's
your
the word
dues.
I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Paying your dues.
Yeah, and all the stuff that I guess you don't expect. You get the
Yes.
van, you're like, oh, it started today, it should be fine.
Yeah,
And then
and
you start getting stuck and there's flat tires. And
Exactly.
you're getting pulled over and, hey, what are you guys doing with all this guitar equipment?
Sleeping on the side of the road because like it's 2 a.m. and nothing's open and it's Sunday and like, and when you're living like that, it's like it's hard to take your next step in front of you, let alone think what is the next 10 years going to be like. You know what I mean? So I guess at that time, maybe a year before that, I probably had, before we had really started touring and we were just like kind of like, we had just put out our first record, and it was like all the possibilities were there. But then the next year happened, it was like getting hit with reality. Yeah, I think that since then the attitude has like shifted in 180 of just extreme positivity. Yeah. And I think that through that extreme positivity, we've been able to like reach higher and higher heights. Okay. And so now like the way that we live, it's a lot easier for me to picture what 10 years from now is going to be like.
Paying your dues can be a wake-up call. I had read recently that you had applied to Berklee and got turned down, right?
Yeah.
And I could only, when I read that, the thought that I had was, there's probably several different classes that are happening right now at Berklee about you, about your style, about the licks and your writing style and all this stuff. I found it so interesting that things come full circle, and maybe karma, and then maybe whoever was, you applied, and for whatever reason they were like, no, next, and who at that moment in time didn't catch the passion that you obviously need to do this,
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. Like, if I were to show you guys those videos that I had uploaded, it's 16-year-old kid shredding his ass off. Like, is it like groundbreaking? Not really. Is it, it's a 16-year-old kid shredding his ass off.
Right.
And I understand like why I wasn't accepted, and the journey had to happen.
Right.
For the, if classes are being taught now, the trajectory needed to play out, I think.
Right. For guitar players, I think there's moments in time where someone new comes on the scene and they just mess every guitar player just sort of has to recheck themselves. And it's usually a bad day. It's the greatest day, Eddie Van Halen. The greatest day, Hearing Eruption, and the worst day. Because you're just like, how is this even going to be possible? In 1978, when you hear something like that, people that heard Hendrix, right, for the first time, it's so other level. I think that maybe after Edward, there was probably Steve and Yngwie. I remember hearing Yngwie.
Yeah.
And just I was actually upset. As a guitar player, I'm on the Music Zoo, but also as a guitar player and being passionate about the guitar, you get to a point where like, okay, I figured this out. I know I could tap, I could figure out how to do all this Eddie stuff. It's not a complete mystery to me now, even though he's King Edward. I get it. And then Yngwie comes out. It's just like, oh, come on. I thought I was there. And my point is, you've done that to a whole new group of guitar players that are slapping their forehead and angry almost that you're so good. And it's inspiring. For somebody like me, it's so inspiring. We were having dinner like 3 months ago, and there was a lot of wine.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good food, and we talked about all different things. And one of the things that you said to me that was such a curveball that I didn't expect was, you said, I put guardrails up in my playing, and I wanted to limit myself of things that potentially other people are doing, that I didn't want to go too far. You mentioned something about, I don't want to sound too heavy metal, if I remember correct.
Yeah,
hearing that correctly. At that time, obviously there were other things that you didn't want to do to sound like other people. And of course, now the Beato interview's out and the boomer bands thing, and everybody's up in arms about boomer bands. But one of the things was, you had told me that you didn't want to go that. It wasn't that bends are bad, it's that you wanted to find a new way to do that. And Are you still doing that? Are you still keeping yourself in these parameters? And where do you think your guitar playing goes from here?
I guess first off, thank you for those wonderful, kind words. I feel very blessed to have, as a child, got to witness, EVH, Ingve, Guthrie, Dimebag, all at once. Like, I got on YouTube and saw all of it at the same time, right. So it was like very formative for me to like get to like just see all the crazy things and learn them at the same time.
Right.
As far as, what's next, I think we've kind of like, every day we continue to have just absolute sicko monster players coming out, and it's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier, and it's awesome. I think, this goes back to the very important thing that, like, even all the way back to before people started going super, super crazy, is like, how can we be crazy, 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 but also musical? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, the crazier you go, you also have to think, is this going to translate to like somebody who, I guess, hasn't really trained those neural pathways to like get it super hard.
Sure.
And so I guess that's where I'm at, is like, how can I make the most musical thing while also, having the fun, awesome, crazy stuff, right. So at this point, like, it's not so much that I'm necessarily pushing for more crazy, because, I've been fortunate enough to like be in this and, reach new heights and see the younger players come up too. Like, there's like Marcin and all these other kids that
Matteo,
are just absolutely incredible that just play circles around me, and it's just like, all right, well, I feel like the old guys probably feel like this, where it's just like, all right, let's just write a dope melody now.
So it's still about the song, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's still the platform, and that's yet another thing that we talked about that I didn't expect from you is the composition. Well, composition not only as a songwriter, but composition as John Williams and movie soundtracks, and now you just did this thing for F1 with Hans. When you're doing the recording for something like that, is he sending you stems and you're sitting at home in your studio, or are you there and he's producing and going, no, play this note or play that note? Like, what happens in that situation?
So in that very specific situation, I think Hans trusted me to do the thing that he was looking for.
Okay.
And so I was there at his studios in Santa Monica for about a week, maybe a little longer, just clocked in from the morning to the night, because I had to do like the whole movie. And when I had first got there to speak with him about it a couple months earlier, he had showed me just the intro of the movie, and like, immediately I was like, I know what he wants from me, just from hearing it, because there's like, and even like a staple of Hans's music is like kind of this like plucky guitar sound too, and like with a movie like F1, where, the concept is fastness. Clearly he wants the plucky thing with fast.
With fast, right.
So I think he trusted me to do what needed to be done. They gave me the Studio A of the building and moved half of Hans's guitars into my room, and my room just became the guitar room. Okay. And I just locked in and, finished the thing and turned it in, and they were like, this is perfect. And I was like, great.
Okay, cool. So I didn't even come back and be like, oh, we want you to change this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little weird because like, after like 3 days, I was like, you guys want to listen to this? And they did, and they were like, perfect. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, 'cause it's like 3 days of just nonstop work. Right. No one's really checking it. And like, But again, I think that's why I was brought in, was because Hans trusted me to do the thing that needed to be done.
So there wasn't really, he just wanted you to be Tim Henson.
Mm-hmm. But also for the F1 film, like I realized that like my part there is to serve the film, and it's just like, as much as I want to just go balls to the wall, like does the movie call for that, and so yeah, just I think that's really important for a lot of people to realize what it is that you're working on and how can you best serve the project.
Right. If you had to give advice to younger guitar players that are now, they're trying to figure out how to play like you, what would the advice be to a younger guitar player, somebody that's maybe 13 or 14 or 15 years old that just started now? All
right, I'm gonna look at the camera for this one.
Okay.
We sell our tablature. It's like one of the things that like helps us pay our bills. And I think it's a great tool and a great helper. But for the young guitar players who want to play guitar, learn it by ear. Just learn everything that you can by ear. And if you want to get the tab like afterwards to like double check, and maybe if there's something that you were struggling with that like you couldn't just quite get, like sure, do it, but learn it by ear. That is going to be the most important thing for any musician is to just be able to hear it and to play it.
Bouncing back to the Berklee question again, were you a reader back then? Was it something that you could put a score or a classical piece in?
So I started playing violin before I started playing guitar. Okay. I started playing at the age of 3, and I can sight read violin pretty well. When it comes to reading sheet music for guitar, like I don't even really know where all the notes of the guitar are. You know what I mean? And again, this is because I learned to play by ear, and because for me violin was so rigid, and it kind of killed any sort of love for music. It made me like hate music, because especially in classical music, like you're essentially just doing cover songs like all the time. There's no room for creativity. And when I picked up the guitar at 10, I saw it as an escape from that, because it was like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And, my dad would give me, the Black Sabbath and Jimi Hendrix records of CDs.
He was a guitar player as well.
But I didn't know that until I was 10 years old. He like just kept it a secret.
The guitar?
Crazy dad lore. Just like, he just didn't play for 10 years.
Okay.
And like,
well, I can understand that. So I have a 12-year-old daughter, and when the focus at home is your kid and there's ballet and there's all sorts of things happening, some of your own life sort of goes out because you're serving your child, and so some of your life kind of gets lost. I found even with my dad, who's now dead 25 years, I found out more about him after he was gone, that who he was as a person, because he never let it out while I was in the house. He was too worried about me growing up and having long hair and hanging out on a street corner in New York City and whatever. And just, he felt like, I got to keep this kid on the straight and narrow before I could just be like, hey, I like this and I like that and I do all this. And that was, he was a way older school person, but I could see how that happens.
Yeah.
Where it just sort of he's going to work every day.
Yes.
Eating dinner.
Yeah. And then for 10 years, I just had no idea. And then he brought it out and I was like, what is that? And I just, I had 7 years of violin at that point. So I just assumed like, well, that's kind of similar. I bet you I could do that well. And it was very humbling to like pick it up and not know anything about it. But because I already had experience like getting good at something, I was like, okay, let me try and get good at this. And he would give me the Hendrix and Black Sabbath CDs, because this is like right before YouTube really popped off. This is like 2005. Like I would just like have it on a CD player in my headphones and just like hit rewind, to listen to it back just over and over. And, this is why I always say, like, start with Black Sabbath, just like if you want to learn how to play by ear, that's a wonderful record, to do that with, because it's the riffs are like fun, but like at a level where it's not too daunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like once you get it, it's like, oh, this is awesome. You know?
A million years ago, I taught guitar at the original Music Zoo, and then before that, that's how I got into this whole thing, was teaching guitar. And I would watch kids and adults kind of lose interest when things got way too complicated too quickly. So Black Sabbath, back in the 80s, and Motley Crue was 2-3 chords, AC/DC 2 or 3 chord rock, real easy to grasp. You get the endorphins of being like, I'm doing this. This is awesome. And that push just to get you over the edge will keep you chasing the dragon.
Absolutely. I used to teach before we were doing this full time, and that was exactly the method that I would use to keep the students engaged, was instant gratification. Like I have like a repertoire of like cool things that sound cool and look crazy but are easy that I give people on those first lessons that gives them that like sense of
the boost to keep going.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you hit that and you can find that passion and you realize that it's as complicated as you could make things, you could also keep it sounding great and simplistic, and people have fun and joy. We have a mutual friend, Steve Vai, and Steve will always say, anyone can do it. You just have the passion for it, and the will to keep doing it. I know somebody like him would play 8, 10, 12 hours a day, so that you'll get good eventually if you do that. You know, and he's Long Island royalty here, Satriani and Petrucci and all these.
I didn't know John was from Long Island too.
He lives, 25 minutes from here.
God, it really is like the guitar royalty over here.
Satriani and
Larry DiMarzio is like from here too, right?
Larry DiMarzio's a Staten Island guy. I think he was originally
it's the
Brooklyn.
island thing I get mixed up.
We talked about Vai. I think what you were talking about before, about walking into the stadium and kind of owning it. This is our home. And this mentality / spirituality of way to approach music and your life is really important to me. And the connection I find maybe with Steve Vai. We had Steve come and do a clinic here. It's 8 or 9 years ago. And I couldn't stop asking him questions about how he approaches his life, his spirituality, and just how that connects to the guitar and how it connects to everyone. I didn't know what to expect with him, because I certainly, as a fan, saw the images of him with the fan blowing in his hair, with the fancy outfits, and I saw him.
Yeah, I mean, he gives the larger than life persona.
Right. I was at the David Lee Roth Eat 'Em and Smile tour. So I watched him play Eruption with the guitar basically on the stage, and he just laid down and played Eruption like note for note. And it was just like, oh my God, he's unbelievable. But the thing that I find interesting, a long-winded question, but this spirituality between the both of you and the way you approach the guitar and the way you approach life, doing a deeper dive into what you do and your music, then you have a song, Playing God, which is one of your most popular songs, right? Ego Death. The name of one of your records is basically You're Gonna Die.
Remember that you will die.
Remember that you will die. So all of this, is this all a reminder of your spirituality, of where you stand in the world and how you approach life? And
so those titles actually were named prior to any spirituality that I had in my life. It wasn't until after that record came out that I kind of like, long story short, we were on tour for that record, and I just like cold turkey quit my antidepressants, just like on accident, because the flight to Europe was like messed up the time zone, and I just missed the day, and I was just like, fuck it. Yeah. And that caused me to spiral, and like I kind of like got to like hit like a breaking point, which like I broke through to the other side, and then realized that like there's more to it than just this. Right. And after like talking to Steve about it, like Steve put me on to so many new concepts that I had never even thought about, and all of those song titles have a drastically different meaning for me now than when they were made, and but like I think for the naming of all of the things on that record, I guess like we haven't really talked about this, but one of the concepts for that record was to, at the time in 2022, AI wasn't really a thing yet. Right. Like that happened like 6 months later, where like, you know, ChatGPT and Midjourney and all these other things came out. So at that time in 2022, like people's concept of AI was like iRobot. And like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was like a very far-fetched thing of what AI actually is. And because there's so many different sounds on that record, we wanted to treat it as if Polyphia itself were the AI and you were feeding it prompts. So you want like a pop song with like, you know, kawaii, you know, Japanese, like you get ABC. You want like a heavy song with, you know, one of the goated legends of rock, you get Bloodbath. You know, if you want, you know, the continuation of like the Polyphia sound with like, again, one of the greatest of all time, you get Ego Death, right? And it was kind of, and if you want a rap song, like it's all the Polyphia version. It's like you feed it to the Polyphia AI and this is what it spits out, okay. Right? Yeah. And so we kind of came up with this like crazy end of the world scenario for these song titles. Then, like I said, you know, AI happened, and also I got to have like
interaction with Steve.
Well, I got to have a spiritual awakening and then interaction with Steve that like kind of reframes all of these titles for me. And so now when I think about a title like Playing God, which, you know, at the time I knew that I wanted the name of that one to be the first thing that we dropped just because it's provocative, you know?
Yeah.
But it means so much more to me now. And I see like so much in the world where it's just like, dude, we are dangerously close to like pretty much like everything that's happening in this world right now is like incredibly blasphemous.
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
And you know, like we have billionaires like Peter Thiel, like who are championing things like transhumanism, which is like that in itself is playing God. Yeah. And like it is a very, very slippery slope when the guy who's championing this can't even answer a simple question of, do you think that humans should survive or like continue? And he's like, it's bad. It's not
bad.
good. You know?
It's bad. It's bad.
So, you know, after seeing me, you know, talking to Steve about these things, like he put me on to like, you know, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Yep. and all of these like wonderfully beautiful spiritual concepts. And, you know, so now I walk through the world a little bit differently.
And I it's funny because on my notes I have Eckhart Tolle and in as part of the questions that I wanted to ask you. So that's the connection I find, or one of the connections that I find, besides the musical connection, you guys playing on a song together in the video, and him almost basically handing you the baton to run with the guitar, the next phase of guitar. That's what it feels like to me. You know, that's at least what I got from him, and he loves you. And I had dinner with him in June, and in June we talked about you. Your ears were probably ringing, and he sees you as, you know.
And I love that. That makes my heart feel so full. Yeah. Because he's an idol to me, man. Like I remember seeing Tender Surrender around that time that I started playing guitar, and it's like most of like my guitar mannerisms like are from Steve. Like if I do like a bend, I'll like, you know, push my hair back and stuff like it. Like most of my guitar mannerisms come from that video, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel so incredibly grateful that like he feels that way, you know, or even is alluded to feel that way from these conversations, and you know, it's just cool.
I don't know if you get this from him or you spent time maybe alone that where it'll come up, but so even in June, when we first met, we talked about spirituality, and then during COVID, we had some conversations, and then I saw him in June at dinner, and somehow, and I asked for it somehow, and sometimes afterwards I'm like, I don't know if I should have done that, but I end up on his couch, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm just, what do you think about this? You know, and he'll ask me pointed questions. Well, why do you feel that way? I'm just like,
no, he'll turn it around on you and get you to self-reflect.
Right. And so I'm sitting there going, I never really thought about this. We were just having a conversation. The next thing you know, I'm on Steve Vais' couch getting analyzed, you know. Yeah. And from talking to him, then he led me down this Eckhart Tolle, A Course in Miracles, God and Christianity, and it just there's so much. and you pull a lot out of it. And you have time for a quick Steve Vai story that I think is actually very cool. So he does a clinic for us 6, 7, 8 years ago. And a customer of mine came to me and he goes, I'm not going to be at the event. I can't make it. But could you ask Steve if he would sell a specific guitar? And the guitar, it was a gem guitar that was made by this guy, Joe Dispagni. Steve is friends with Joe for years. They grew up on Long Island together. It's a well-known guitar. It was actually the guitar in the Going Crazy video, the David Lee Roth video. And it's all flames. It's actually cut out like flames, but then also painted red and yellow to look like flames. My customer asked me, and he goes, could you talk to him about this? Like, man, this is going to be a really uncomfortable conversation. I love my customer. He's a good friend too, but do I ask Steve, like, hey, we want to buy one of your guitars? So I ask him, and he goes, well, what are we talking here? Like money-wise, right? And we came to a deal and everything, and he wound up selling the guitar. And when it came time to get paid, he just said, take the money and send it to Joe. So Joe Dispagni, who built the guitar, was suffering from cancer at the time. He's now passed away. And at the moment when he said, just take the money, and it was a substantial amount of dough, and he said, just send the money to Joe and his family. They need it more than I do. It was yet another one of those moments where I was like, what a wonderful human. You know?
Yeah, man.
I'm glad I'm in his circle in some kind of small way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, after I met Steve in, I guess it was 2020, he had asked us to do the NAMM show, just like to open for him at the performance thing. And after I had met him, I realized like I am carrying myself the wrong way. Like he like changed the way that I carry myself. And I had started asking myself at that moment, before I did anything, before I tweeted anything, blah, 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 what would Steve do? Because it's like, you wouldn't see Steve Vai tweet something like that, whatever, like thought I was thinking or whatever, but Steve, I think he's such a kind, generous soul. Like when we did Ego Death, kind of a similar story, like he gave us, the guitar parts, and, our dumbasses are like, all right, let's chop them up. And, after he like heard it and like got used to it and was like, you know what, this is good. He then told us when it came down to doing the splits for the song, right. I had like sent them over to him and, like giving him like his chunk of it, and he just said, this is my gift to you guys. Like, I want nothing, and I was like,
yeah,
wow, and I feel like, I don't know, I guess like how blessed to be able to be in a position to just like, be so like selfless,
Yeah, it's wonderful. You did the interview with Rick Beato, which was great. And you mentioned boomer bands and you got a little slack maybe, or, the boomers were all like, how dare he say this?
They don't like alliteration.
Well, it's interesting to me in so many ways, because we see in the store, I see there's a lot of, I guess boomers would be 62 or 63 years old and up now.
I got a lot of love for the boomers, man. My dad is a boomer. He's kind of an old dude. Like, I think he's like 68 now. But yeah, I got a lot of love for them.
No, I don't mean it that way. But if the bends and that style playing and blues licks or whatever was to that generation, and Gen X, like I am, was kind of this, like in Eddie Van Halen and the Phase Shifter and Eruption and that whole thing, Randy Rhoads and maybe Yngwie, all those people that age grew up with that. What is the millennial thing on guitar? What are maybe the millennials doing too much, or something that they've abused the crap out of, or
I mean, I don't know if they're to categorize it by generation. Right. You know what I mean? I do think that we're kind of reaching critical mass on how crazy we're making the music, with also not prioritizing the musicality, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier, is like you can keep going down the crazy road, but like eventually you got to bring it back to where people actually travel it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like as far as like my perspective on things, like I guess I wasn't really around to see the Gen X like tapping thing get overplayed. That
was walking into a guitar store from 1980 to probably 1992 or so, everyone did that.
Right,
Everyone,
right.
if you worked in a guitar store, everyone came in and did eruption, or at least the hammer on the end part, or tried to do it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and it was, from hearing it all day long in the guitar store, there was probably only about 1% of people that would actually get the feel right.
Right, yeah.
It was just I'm doing this.
So I guess that's the thing is like when somebody does the cool thing, right? And they do it so well, and you think about Hendrix and like those kinds of licks like came from like that like awesome, incredible generation, and probably even before Hendrix, where they were probably doing those kinds of licks too. Like there's blues licks, right? And then like everybody wants to sound like that, but nobody, the 1% are hitting the feel, you know what I mean? And everything else is falling flat. And that's kind of just what happens, I guess, when like somebody like Eddie comes out and does the thing, and it's the cool thing, and then everybody else wants to sound like the cool thing, but they're kind of like, I don't want to say bastardizing, but like, like they're watering it down a little bit, but it takes that, that's needed, because then like it pushes things forward. I feel like around that like 80s time, all the shredders like kind of ganged up together with like the shrapnel stuff. And then when that happened, like it was so heavily weighed on the shredder side that like the universe needed to balance itself out and
grunge.
Pop up Kurt Cobain.
Oh my God, I remember the day.
Then all of a sudden, like it's not cool to shred, bro.
So in the guitar store, so there was a moment where everything that had stripes or polka dots or pink or whatever, the loud, the
loud,
the guitar, Floyd Roses, Kahlers, anything that you could go. And whenever that record came out, the Nirvana record, it just went. Whew. And then we had nothing but Floyd Rose guitars that were just lonely and collecting dust.
Yeah.
And the offset guitars started to sell. And it took several years for it to come back, but I would say somewhere around 2005 or so, then all of a sudden there was this big uptick again, because I think it was probably people my age that were, that guitar used to be cool and I never had the money for it, and I was 15 and now I'm 35 or whatever, and I do have the money for it now, so I'm going to buy it. And I do want to still do this in my basement. So that's it. Kind of changed. Some quick questions. If you had to give me 5 early influences, musically or guitar, what would they be? If you had to just rattle them out.
Hendrix, Black Sabbath, obviously Steve, and then like really, really go hard rap. Like my brother, like he body builds, and what he listens to is just like, Houston dirty South ass rap with the hardest beats. And it's just, to work out to that stuff, it's just like, just gives you that feeling. And that's like, that feeling is such a cool feeling, and so you mix the guitar greats,
endorphins and adrenaline.
Yes, but then there's the feeling of what that gives you, the really go hard rap.
If there were 4 or 5 people right now inspirational to you that you're just like, oh, I dig this right now, besides what you just said, like right now, guitar players, and you may have mentioned it a little bit, like the Marcin and Matteo, and
I see Marcin and Matteo, and I see them like taking guitar to new heights, right? As far as like music that I'm interested in, that's guitar leaning, and also the two that I'm going to name are guitar players. These two we've brought in for the Polyphia record, and it is insane. It is such a crazy sound, and I'm so proud of like the things that we're making, and so excited to get it out. But those two are RJ Pasin, who like, he can shred and he can do all the things, but it's like his editing is the thing, right? And then there's Spiro. Have you seen Spiro?
I have,
yeah. So Spiro, like he's kind of, we've been working with him, and through working with him, like I've kind of rethought the way that I play, because like one of the things that like he told me that like really like jumped out to me was like, when you think about dudes like JP and Jason Richardson, they're up there just fucking, and they're just giving their all, you know what I mean? And one of the things that Spiro like really tries for with his playing is like, how easy can he make it? Like how insane can he make it? But like, you know, he told me he wants to be like an old guy who has no problem just going like, and it's his approach to economy, like the economic motions of moving, that like, you know, I learned like economy picking like when I was pretty young, and then you see players like Tosin who take that shit to the next level, right? And then somebody like Spiro comes in and just takes it up like
a whole nother notch. Yeah. Thanks,
and
Jordan.
so,
Jordan turned me on to it.
you know, like it's cool because this late in the game, I'm so fortunate to like feel inspired in that way with, you know, with my peers, and to be able to make music with them, and just to like, again, make some of the craziest shit. Like I'm so excited for this to come out, and I'm excited to show you. I'll show you later today.
Okay, yeah, and you would play me some. Can I say that you're working on some stuff on the side too, solo?
Well, yeah, my solo record is just a whole nother thing.
Okay,
but
some of that stuff you played me in March, and my head exploded. So,
yeah, awesome.
I'm looking forward to that happening. Want to have some fun?
Yeah,
I normally we wouldn't go this way because I feel like the this or that thing has been sort of done to death. But I thought it would be fun with you, especially since we sort of had this heavy conversation. Let's
make it light.
Let's dial it down for the end. This or that. Pro Tools or Logic?
Ableton.
I had a feeling that you were going to say something that I didn't have written down here. Cars or motorcycles?
Cars.
Ferrari or Porsche?
I'm not old enough to drive Porsche. I feel like all the dudes who get supercars, they like go for the crazy ones first because they look crazy, but then it seems like they all end up at Porsche. I haven't got to do the rounds yet. Like I'm still rocking the R8, you know? Okay. So it's like, I'm gonna have to say Ferrari on this one, but like just because, you know, from the outside, they're so beautiful, you know, and then like every 911 kind of just looks like a 911, you know, and like of course, as someone who hasn't really experienced like a GT3 or like, you know, the heights of what a 911 could be.
The R8's no slouch though.
No, and I love it. It's my favorite thing. Like, and you know, I think eventually like I might try and start like a V10 collection, just get like a 2004 Viper or something. Like, just never drive it because it'll kill you. But yeah, I need to do the rounds before I agree with everyone that Porsche is the better thing.
Clean or distortion?
Both.
Bends or hammer-ons?
I'm gonna say Benz.
Misha or Tosin?
Both for different things, but I guess like more influential to me and my playing Tosin, but more influential to the songwriting and like production, Misha. Right.
They've both been here.
I guess I'm doing this wrong. I'm not choosing this or that. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's it. Whatever answer is your answer. That's what's important. I already know the answer to this, I think. Vais or Ingve?
Vais.
Studio or live?
Studio.
Yeah.
I have more fun with the creation. I feel most connected to source in that way when I'm just like channeling the shit and it's just coming through.
Yeah.
We make really complicated shit that's like really hard to play. And so like, you know, it's hard to like not get up there and just be sweating. Like, I can't fuck this up because the fans are really, really, really gonna notice, you know? But like the more bigger crowds we play to, the more the audience grows and the less like scrutinizing the audience becomes. Like, especially as we're doing like these like stadium gigs, it almost seems like because there's like reverberation and stuff inside the stadium and like the acoustics aren't the best because it's a stadium, there's like a layer of like forgiveness, where like of an echo of some sort that is, and I'm like, maybe we've been a stadium band all along. But yeah,
let's hope so.
Yeah,
from now on we could go on forever, but I love this. I appreciate you coming here. Everybody's so excited about you doing the clinic. It's good to catch up with you again.
Absolutely.
It's been a few months.
Do more catching up later.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're headed out to you in a little bit.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.